My name is Frank Driscoll, and welcome to Driscoll's Election Dissection, your election analysis for Across the Circus. I hope you all are doing well today, wherever you are. Today, we are discussing primary elections set to take place on Tuesday, August 6th. And on that day, not one, not two, not three, but 4 U.S. states will be holding primary elections. Those 4 states are Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, and Washington State. It also should be noted that this week, primaries are also taking place on Saturday, August 10th in the state of Hawaii. Yes, they usually hold their primaries on a Saturday. However, we're only going to be talking about 3 states. We won't be talking about Kansas, and we won't be talking about Hawaii, as there aren't many battlegrounds going on there. So, 3 states to talk about, and we also have 8 elections to talk about, so we're going to do a little rapid fire today. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right to it, and let's pack our bags and head to the Great Lakes state, the state of Michigan. First, we head to the Democratic side of things, and we head to Michigan's 13th congressional district. Now, the current incumbent for Michigan's 13th congressional district is Democrat Sri Tanadar, first elected back in 2022. And Representative Tanadar faces 2 major challengers in his re-election bid, those being former Southfield City Clerk Shakira Hawkins and Detroit City Councilwoman Mary Waters. But Michigan will have a lot to talk about come November, with a few toss-up seats as well as a Senate seat, which we'll also be talking about today in the GOP primary for U.S. Senate. Now, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin seems to be the shoo-in for the Democratic side, but there is a bit of a primary battle on the Republican side. There are 2 major candidates in that race, and they are former Congressman Justin Amash and also former Congressman Mike Rogers. Now, Rogers seems to have the edge over Amash in polling, but it's gonna be a very close race come November. So with that, we head down to the show-me state, the state of Missouri. First, on the Democratic side, we're going to be talking about the primary for Missouri's 1st congressional district. Now, the current representative for Missouri's 1st congressional district is Representative Cori Bush. She's a Democrat, was first elected in 2020, and defeated a longtime incumbent in the process. However, she has gained controversy on her views on the Israel-Hamas war, as well as other progressive issues, and with that, she faces a serious challenge from St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell. And Bell has been leading in every major poll since February, some by slim margins, some by big margins. So, it's going to be a race to watch. Now, as we flip over to the Republican side, we'll be talking about the GOP primary for the governor's office. Now, the current governor of Missouri is Republican Mike Parson, and he is term limited this year and cannot run for re-election, making the seat open. And it's set to be a solid Republican seat from most analysts, so whoever wins the Republican primary will have a very good chance of winning in November. So with that, many of the state's elite have come out to fight. There are 3 major candidates in the primary. Those are Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, State Senator Bill Eagle, and Lieutenant Governor of Missouri Mike Kehoe. And the most recent poll from the Remington Research Group, sponsored by Missouri Scout, actually shows Ashcroft and Kehoe in a neck-and-neck even split, each with 29% of the vote. And there's no runoff system in Missouri. Whoever gets the most votes wins. So this should be a fun one. And from there, we go to Missouri's 3rd congressional district, their GOP primary. Now, the current representative for District 3 in Missouri is Republican Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. Now, he is retiring this year, making the seat open. And it's a solid Republican seat. There are 2 major candidates. Both of them just so happen to be ex-state senators, those being Bob Onder and Kurt Schaefer. And at the last poll from the Remington Research Group, sponsored by the Onder campaign, Onder's leading by 20 points. But as we all know, the only poll that matters is the one on Election Day. So, now we leave Missouri and we head to the evergreen state, the state of Washington. Now, Washington has a number of elections this year, including a governor's race, as well as several House seats that are up for grabs or seen to be as battlegrounds. So you're saying, so Washington will have the Republican and Democratic primaries, and that will decide who goes on to the election in November, right? Wrong. For those of you outside of Washington who don't know, Washington uses the same system as California, that being the top two primary. That means all candidates, regardless of partisan affiliation, appear on one single ballot, and a voter votes for one of them. And the two candidates with the most votes move on to the general election in November, which means that the two general election candidates could be from the same party, which has happened a few times before. So in that case, we'll start with the gubernatorial election in Washington state. And the current governor of Washington is Jay Inslee, who is currently serving his third term as governor. Washington does not have term limits. However, Jay Inslee has decided not to run for re-election, leaving the seat open. Now, there are 28 candidates on the ballot. You heard that right, 28 candidates. But there are 4 major candidates, 2 from each party. Those being on the Republican side, former Richland School Board member Semi Bird, and former Congressman Dave Reichert. On the Democratic side, the 2 major candidates are Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson and State Senator Mark Mullen. Now, the most recent poll from Public Policy Polling, sponsored by the Northwest Progressive Institute, has Ferguson leading with 39% and Reichert right behind with 28%. Now, of course, this means that those 2 will likely move on to the election in November. But the higher edge one has in a primary like this could mean good for them come November. And now we're going to talk about 2 House seats. Now, both of these House seats are interesting. They're both solid Republican seats. And basing on how the primary comes out, it could make an interesting race come November with the whole open primary system. So we'll go on to Washington's 4th congressional district. Now, the incumbent representative for Washington's 4th congressional district is Representative Dan Newhouse. He was first elected way back in 2014. However, Newhouse was one of the Republicans to vote to impeach then-President Donald Trump in 2021, one of only a handful of Republicans, and that has gotten him a lot of critiques from his right. And there are 2 major Republican candidates fighting to replace him, those being businessman Jared Sessler and motivational speaker Tiffany Smiley. So, which makes the possibility that since this is a solid Republican seat, Representative Newhouse could be facing one of those candidates, or, based on how the vote goes, those 2 candidates could be the top 2, leaving Newhouse out. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Then we head to, finally today, Washington's 5th congressional district. Now, the current representative for Washington's 5th congressional district is Republican Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers. She was first elected way back in 2004 and is choosing to retire this year. There are 10 candidates. However, there are 4 major candidates in terms of finance and endorsements, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Those being on the Democratic side, physician Bernadine Bank and Spokane Democratic Chair Carmela Conroy. Meanwhile, there are 2 major candidates who are Republicans, those being Spokane County Treasurer Michael Baumgartner and State House Minority Floor Leader Jacqueline Maycomber. Now, as mentioned, this is a solid Republican seat. But what makes this race interesting is that with 2 major Democrats and 2 major Republicans that could possibly split the vote, there is a possibility that the 2 Democratic candidates could come out on top and be the 2 candidates in a solid Republican district. That's the fun in the top 2 primary. You really don't know which way it's going to go. So, you'll have to check those races in Washington out on election night because they can get pretty fun. And as always, if you are willing to learn more about elections in your area, be sure to check out politics1.com as well as ballotpedia.com. And if you're willing to look at recent polls, be sure to check out 538.com. So, those are elections to watch in Michigan, Missouri, and Washington state. And if you're an election junkie like me, I would really check those elections out on August 6th. And as always, I say if you are a registered voter in Michigan, Missouri, Washington state, or, as we mentioned earlier, Kansas or Hawaii, all having primaries this week, I don't care who you vote for, but I do care that you vote. So please do. Thank you for listening to Driscoll's Election Dissection. If you would like to learn more about the show, go online to algidproductions.com/acrossthecircus and be sure to listen to us on any podcasting form you like. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you all very soon.